I have been asked to assist with the conservation of these 4 drawings, and it's a task I approach with great care. Each one is an incredibly beautiful work of art, rendered with fine detail, on paper so thin and delicate that it almost feels weightless. Despite their artistic merit, the fragile state of these drawings reveals the tool they have taken over time. It's clear that they've endured some difficult conditions, likely having been exposed to moisture at some point, which has left a lasting impact on the paper and the integrity of the artworks themselves. The effects of this exposure are evident in the form of tears and weakened areas, a result of the paper's delicate nature and the environmental stress they have faced. Of course, I need to start by removing the drawings from their frames so I can properly examine them. With the passepartout removed, we can see that they have been mounted by simply gluing the paper to the backing board all the way around the edges. To soften the adhesive, I use a gel made of methyl cellulose and water, which I apply to the glued areas. The moisture in the gel slowly penetrates the paper and reaches the adhesive, and once it's softened, I can carefully lift the paper away. As I work along the edges, I place small pieces of non-woven polyester between the paper and the backing board and allow everything to dry before moving it further. The drawing is also more fragile when damp, but I have to use moisture to separate it from the board. The paper is simply too delicate for me to attempt any kind of mechanical removal. The way these drawings were mounted is likely one of the reasons for the many tears they now have. Paper is an organic material that responds to changes in, for example, relative humidity. It wants to move, expand, and contract, but because the edges were fixed, they couldn't move. Combined with the fact that the paper is very thin and brittle, this restriction caused the paper's movements to result in tears in the drawings. The drawings only receive a light surface cleaning with a soft brush. If you've seen some of my other works, you know that I often use a smoke sponge to remove surface grime, but I'm not comfortable doing that here. There's a risk that the smoke sponge could remove the graphite lines of the drawing, but additionally, the sponge exerts minimal pulling on the paper's surface when used, and I'm concerned that the paper is too delicate to withstand even that. I do, however, want to try removing some of the degradation products present in the paper. These are what have made the paper so fragile and given it its brownish color. This process is done by washing the paper, also known as wet cleaning. The paper is still fragile, so I need to handle it very carefully. I've placed the drawing on a piece of non-woven polyester and begin by relaxing the fibers in the paper by lightly spraying it with water. Both the polyester and the drawing are then placed on the surface of a water bath, where they are left to sit while the water works to extract the degradation products from the paper. I plan to mount the drawings, and for that they need to be fully relaxed, as they are right now when they are being wet cleaned. To take advantage of the wet cleaning process, I plan to mount them immediately afterward. This means I can prepare the mounting materials while the drawings are being cleaned. On a piece of glass, I first apply a layer of wheat starch paste, and then a piece of another type of non-woven polyester on top. A layer of methyl cellulose and water is applied over the polyester, followed by a piece of Japanese koso paper. The koso paper is fairly thin and will serve as the mounting material. It's important that it has approximately the same grammage as the drawings to avoid causing deformations. Finally, another layer of wheat starch paste is applied on top, and the mounting stack is ready for the drawing. First, the drawing needs to be removed from the water bath. I do this by only handling the polyester. The paper will naturally follow, and I carefully pull them over the edge of the tray to remove some of the water from the materials. You can see how the colored degradation products are being drawn into the water. This is very satisfying to me. By placing a piece of clear plastic over the drawing, I can transfer it from the polyester to my mounting stack. I press the drawing firmly onto the mounting material with a bone folder before removing the plastic to ensure it adheres well. The surface of the mounting material is quite wet, which allows me to gently push and adjust parts of the drawing to close the tears properly. Once I'm satisfied with the arrangement, it is left on the glass until it's completely dry. When the drawings are fully dry, they can be removed from the glass. First, the polyester layer is peeled off the glass, and then the polyester is removed from the Kasos paper. leaving only the drawing and the Kasos paper behind. The excess mounting material needs to be trimmed, and I do this by using a sharp scalpel and a straight edge as a guide. The edges of the drawings are not straight, and the sheets vary in size. This, combined with the fact that I'll later mount the drawings in passe-partouts, yeah, spoiler alert, sorry. This means I leave a margin around the sheets. I don't trim all the way to the edges. By giving the drawings straight edges, they become easier to handle. It reduces the risk of damage during handling, and the additional edge won't be visible once the drawings are mounted. The tears that are still visible are retouched using pastel pencils. I combine several colors, adding and removing pastel until I'm satisfied with the result. However, one of the most important factors is having the right background while working on the retouching. Because the drawings are partially transparent, the material they are mounted on also affects the final appearance. I found a scrap piece of the same cardboard that the drawings will eventually be mounted on, and I used this as a backing while retouching. This allows me to see how my work will look against the correct background. As I hinted at earlier, the drawings will be mounted in passepartouts. The passepartouts are, of course, made from acid-free cardboard, and I cut the windows with my small handheld passepartout cutter, which gives me this familiar 45-degree bevel and neat corners. I'm occasionally asked whether it's necessary to cut the window at an angle. Can't you just cut it straight? But no, you can't. If the edge is cut straight down, it will cast shadows over the image, which doesn't happen when it's cut at an angle. Besides, I just think it looks better, so I always cut it like this. The window is hinged to a piece of backing board using strips of Japanese paper and an adhesive made of methyl cellulose and water. I also create hinges for the drawings themselves. Two hinges are attached at the top to keep the drawings from slipping down inside the passepartout, and one on each side of the bottom keeps the lower corners in place. Since the drawings tend to curl, I use a couple of pieces of thin cardboard to avoid bending the corners while placing the drawings in the passepartout. When positioning the drawings, my focus is on making sure the image is aligned within the window. Because the sheets themselves aren't even, they will not align perfectly, but this is only visible when the passepartout is opened. Once I'm happy with the alignment, I attach the other half of the drawing's hinges to the backing board. The passepartouts with the drawings will be mounted in their original frames. I've cleaned the frames and polished the glass, and once I'm sure there are no remaining specks of dust on the inside of the glass, I place the drawing inside and secure it with small pins. Finally, I seal the back of the frame with a starch-based tape activated with a damp sponge. The current owner purchased the drawings at auction, and when I received them, they had labels from the auction house attached to the frames. These labels are an important part of the drawing's provenance, so I reattach them to the back after completing my conservation work. As we conclude the conservation work on these 4 drawings, they are now in a much more stable condition, and their beauty is preserved for the future. Throughout the process, every decision was made with the intention of respecting the delicate nature of the paper and the artist's intent. From carefully removing the drawings from their previous mounting to gently addressing the moisture damage and tears, each step aimed to prevent further deterioration while retaining the drawing's integrity. This work is not just about repairing physical damage, but also about ensuring that the cultural and historical value of these pieces is maintained. These drawings are not only an artistic expression, but also a tangible link to a past era. By stabilizing them now, we help ensure that future generations will have the opportunity to experience and learn from them just as we have. This process has allowed us to offer these incredible works of art a new life, preserving them as important cultural treasures.